This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Malar Tagar. Welcome to our 341st Droid-alicious episode of Mandovision. I am your host, Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. So glad you're here. Reach out to us on the socials at Mando_Vision on X and Insta, Mandovision at Blue Sky, and of course, you can email the show at mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Hey, make sure you're liking, subscribing, and following the show, and then, hey, sharing it with all the Mandalorians in your covert. All right, Bucketheads, welcome back. We're here for another exciting episode of our Star Wars Rebels rewatch. And I'll be honest with you, friends, I don't remember this episode at all. I was watching it, and I was just scratching my head the entire time. I have absolutely zero recollection of this one, so it was quite the episode to watch. And as you know, I am a big proponent of the droid-based episodes. This episode, if you go on to like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes or any of those, does not rate very well amongst the many viewers of the show, those who've taken the time to rate the individual episodes. A lot of those words that you know I hate get thrown about. Filler episode, skippable, blah, 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 all the negative stuff that you can put out there. And like I said, you know that I don't care for that kind of language. I think every single episode of these shows brings something to the table, something for everybody. Again, the Baskin-Robbins effect of Star Wars. There's a flavor for all of us, okay? And I like droid-flavored ice cream, damn it. So, that in mind, I find this episode amusing. I find it solidly entertaining. And it does have some interesting stuff in it that links to our overall overarching story going on, specifically Thrawn's hunt for the Rebel base on Atollon, on Phoenix Squadron's hidden base specifically. So I think this episode does have some value to it. I do think it has some worth, and of course it has some droids, which I'm here for. So we're going to talk about that episode in particular, but there is a little bit of Star Wars news that I wanted to get to first. As you're hearing this, I realize you will probably already know this because the way the release schedule for the episodes right now is like we're working a little bit ahead so that we can get season 3 done by the end of the year. So I'm working from a little bit of a disadvantage in the sense that I'm telling you the news as it's fairly recent, but when you're hearing it, you probably already know. So bear with me, and I'll try to keep it brief. There was a story that came out recently over the weekend. By the way, hope you all had a nice, happy Thanksgiving weekend. Again, it'll be 2 weeks removed by the time you hear this episode, but I wanted to wish you guys a nice one anyways. But we have some news on the Ahsoka front, and that is that Claudia Black is not going to appear in season 2 over alleged pay disputes. If you don't recall, Claudia Black of Farscape fame, a show that I absolutely adore, came on to the delight of many other Farscape fans as Clothal, one of the Night Sisters introduced in this first season. She was there on I can't even remember the name of that planet now. Peridia. Geez Louise, thank you. All right, I got there. She was on Peridia. She had allied with Grand Admiral Thrawn, and she was one of the 3 Night Sisters there that had kind of become known as the Great Mothers. And they sort of seemed to be able to use their dark magic to read the threads of fate and destiny, I think, was sort of like their angle. And then at the end of the season, they were aboard the Chimera on their way back to the main proper Star Wars universe, galaxy, if you will, to do whatever damage on Thrawn's behalf as he sees fit. But Claudia Black will not be returning. There was no information about if the character will be recast. I would imagine she would be recast because I think they're on the way to Dathomir, so I'd imagine the three Great Mothers would be of import to whatever plot they're up to. But we don't know for sure. I wanted to share Claudia Black's quote on this because I did think it was interesting. Let's see. It said it was first reported by Bleeding Cool and then corroborated by Deadline. The Farscape actor said she had to bow out when Disney quote, could not pay me what I needed to be paid as a single mother to keep all my responsibilities going at home in Los Angeles because they were filming in London. It was not something that they could make happen, end quote. She went on to say that dropping out was quote, very sad, end quote, and that she was happy to be part of working with the franchise. Let me see. Here's another quote. Working with lovely people, lovely directors, interesting to work on the volume. Everyone like me who grew up in the 70s and 80s has always been in the Star Wars universe, and it's a very playful environment to work in. I sent an email to Dave Filoni thanking him, and I said, what a ride, end quote. So, Claudia Black, if you were as delighted as I was to see her return to live action in Star Wars as a Night Sister, well, that is short-lived as she steps away for Ahsoka Season 2. We'll keep you posted on if there's any announcements of the character being recast or anything like that. As far as Star Wars comics go, I haven't read anything in a little while. So we're going to get right into this episode of Star Wars Rebels. Let's go ahead. Let's do those episode particulars. This is Star Wars Rebels Season 3, Episode 19. It is, let's see. I've already sort of described the episode. Let me just go ahead and give you guys the vitals, all right? The episode is directed by Stuart Lee, written by Brett Friedman. The plot for the episode: Chopper and AP-5 infiltrate an Imperial station in order to steal some necessary codes when things go awry for the two droids and the crew of the Ghost. This is a weird plot description because the necessary codes they're referring to are, in fact, access codes for Lothal, so they can stage their big attack on Lothal here at the end of the season. So yeah, kind of a big deal. Our primary cast for this week: Taylor Gray is Ezra Bridger, Vanessa Marshall is Harrison Dula, Steve Blum is Zeb Aurelios, Dave Filoni's Chopper, Steven Stanton is AP-5, Josh Gad is the Controller, and Nathan Kress is Wedge and Tilly's. And let me just say right now, the Controller is one of the more interesting visual bad guys we've gotten in Star Wars in quite some time. He's rocking the Lobot headset. He's obviously plugged in. He's an information kind of guy. He's on he has a special ship for sending and receiving vast amounts of information. He monitors all sorts of Imperial channels. It's a very interesting villain, and his look is very, very different as well. He wears eyeglasses, he has a beard, and he's bald. No hat on that dome for an Imperial. And he flies around in this big Imperial ship covered in radar antennas and just monitors comms and monitors droid activities. He is out there trying to find Chopper. He's looking for the Rebel spy droid that's given the Rebels such an advantage. Thrawn has him out there trying to find this droid so they can find out where Phoenix Squadron is holed up. So tracking down this droid is important to the Empire. But yeah, the Controller is a very different kind of villain for us to have in the show. I did like the look of him. Again, that Lobot connection is very, very interesting. I've always had a different backstory for Lobot that I thought was way more fun. But, you can only do what you can do as a fan. And so, yeah, Lobot's backstory has been explored a lot in the Star Wars comics in the last recent years. So if you're into Lobot, you can definitely check this out. I think Charles Soule did a lot of the writing on those comics in that most recent period where they were filling in the gaps between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So you can track down a lot of that stuff. A lot of it's featured in the Trial of Lando Calrissian, I believe is the name of the trade paperback that features a lot of Lobot stuff. So if you're into Lobot, I sort of sidetracked us onto Lobot, but if you're into Lobot, you can get a lot of information about Lobot right now. It's out there for you. It's out there to be consumed. But let's go ahead. Let's talk about this episode. You know what that means. It's time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off.
You're going to have to relocate the covert.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So this is sort of an interesting episode to try and break down with you guys because Again, I do think you either have to be into droids or the dynamic between AP5 and Chopper. And if any of those things bugs you, this episode isn't going to be for you. Like a lot of those negative reviews and comments that were on various websites. Again, why I don't feel this episode is filler or skippable. If droids aren't your thing, and again, you don't like the sort of bickering between AP5 and Chopper, then this is not for you. And the bickering between AP5 and Chopper, it's not like the R2 and C3PO. It is much more hostile. Like, you definitely know that these droids like each other, but they also are both very prickly. And they have no problem just throwing barbs at each other, throwing wicked burns at each other. That's part of their thing, all right? So it's like R2 and 3PO, but like turned up to 11, and a little bit nastier, if you will. So again, if those aren't your thing, this is not going to be for you. But the episode opens up, and we see the ghost. It's linked up with one of the oh gosh, I already am blanking on the type of shuttle that it was. You know which one I mean, the one that looks like the Lambda class shuttles, but it's not the Lambda class shuttles. It's the Sentinel class shuttles. That's what it is. Thank you, brain. Thank you for finally engaging. So yeah, we see a Sentinel class Imperial shuttle linked up with the ghost. And they're getting ready. We find out they're going to be on a mission. It's AP5 and Chopper and Wedge Antilles, still wearing that TIE Fighter outfit that he got on. And they are on a special mission to go get the orbital access codes to Lothal so that they can stage their big fight, like I said, that we're going to get at the end of the season. And they have to do that by going to Killen 71. Killen Station is an Imperial Security Bureau base, the ISB, the Imperial's intelligence wing, basically. Like Admiral Yularen, how he's kind of running that show. So the idea is they'll infiltrate the base. They've got the shuttle. Wedge knows Imperial protocol. And Chopper's been repainted. AP5, obviously a former Imperial inventory droid. And they're going to access the base. The droids themselves. Wedge isn't going to go. He's just going to stay on the shuttle. The droids are going to access the base. While en route, though, again, like that bickering, that back and forth, like AP5's in charge of this mission. No, Chopper's in charge of this mission. And we get into like a whole anything you can do, I can do better routine. Like they actually like incorporate parts of a musical into this, which if memory serves, that's from Annie Get Your Gun, right? Don't hold me to that. But if my brain's working, which we know it's only working half the time. So I may be wrong on that, but very, very interesting musical cue in this. And there'll be another one later in the episode that also makes this something of a unique episode of Star Wars in general, but Rebels in particular. So again, that whole back and forth, trying to establish who is running the mission. Wedge definitely thinks he's in charge. AP5 thinks he's in charge, and Chopper thinks he's in charge. Meanwhile, back on the Ghost, Zeb and Ezra are just cracking up about the whole thing. They think it's hilarious that these guys may consider themselves to be in charge of anything. So it's interesting, to say the least. But we get to Killen Base. The droids have to go through this scanner, right? AP5 goes first, goes off without a hitch. Jen Chopper rolls through, and nothing really happens until he's already down the hallway, and the stormtroopers aren't paying attention anymore, and we see it flash red, and then we go up to space, and that's where we find the controller and his giant shuttle of his big ship full of antennas and satellite dishes, and there they monitor the illegal droid entering the base, and the controller believes this might be the rebel spy that they've been looking for, and so they are cued in. And the other controllers, they want to alert the ISB base and let them know there's rebels in the premises. But this guy, the controller, he's a calculations kind of guy. He's into the numbers and playing the odds. And he believes the odds are if they let the droids do what they're supposed to do there, they can find out where the rebel base is by following them back. So let them steal what they're going to steal. Don't notify the ISB. Not until after they've obtain the information they need to obtain, and then they'll turn the droids over to them. So it gets a little squirrely. AP5, Chopper still bickering back and forth. AP5's like, hey, I'm going to go do this. There's a computer core. I'm going to get the codes. You go over there, do whatever. So Chopper goes whatever there and does whatever. And he starts messing around with the network terminal. Well, now that the controller and his technofiends are sort of monitoring what's going on at the base, once he plugs in, they're able to access him. So they decide to look through Chopper to find the base. It's not there. They know that he's been getting regularly wiped. So whatever. They take control of Chopper. This is where the red flags begin to go off for AP5, because AP5, when he comes back, he's gloating, he's got the codes, and Chopper's just standing there, silent, still, nothing. And then all of a sudden, he's just kind of like polite Imperial droid, right? He's not very Chopper-like at all. AP5 notices the abnormal behavior very, very quickly and tries to point it out. They're on the shuttle, they're on the way back. Again, Chopper is being weird. Chopper is not being Chopper. He is spouting Imperial code. And AP5 recognizes that that's not right. He tries to alert this to Wedge. Wedge is like, hey, no, Chopper's just finally being nice to me. It's all good. He gives him a bottle of water. Everything's honky-dory, right? No. AP5 is basically screaming at the top of his lungs that something is wrong, that somehow Chopper has been breached, that the Empire somehow has done something to Chopper. And one of the funnier bits in the episode is Wedge excuses himself to go to the refresher. We actually go into the refresher. For the first time, I think, in Star Wars. We get to see a little bit of a Star Wars bathroom. How about that? And then we actually hear Wedge undo his space zipper as he's about to relieve himself. But the best part is AP5 comes in, thinking that was a cue to AP5 to come in for a private conversation where Chopper couldn't hear them discuss what's wrong with Chopper. Wedge is, of course, horrified that there is a droid interrupting his private time, and shoos him out of the bathroom, basically, the fresher, if you will. At this point, the controller is monitoring all this stuff because, again, he's in control. He knows that AP5 has been a problem. He was planning to take AP5 out, but now AP5 has ruined his own credibility by taking this too far. Eventually, we link back up to the Ghost at the rendezvous point. So all of our teams are back together again. Hera, Ezra, Zeb, with Wedge, Chopper, and AP5. And then, again, AP5 telling everyone who will listen to him something is wrong with Chopper. And no one believes it at first. And second, and third, and fourth, and fifth. AP5 is really wearing him out, telling him what's going on. No one's listening. Then Hera catches him trying to access the hyperdrive logs. And she's like, that's weird. And I wipe you on a regular basis just for security protocols, just to make sure, So we're getting all this information. And we know that they're being very, very careful about protecting the location of their base. And then the turn happens, right? Chopper sort of lures them out of the main part of the ship into the cargo hold. And then he then takes control of the ship, locks them out down there. Now, this is the one part of the episode where, you could start poking some holes in things, because there's no reason why Ezra couldn't use the Force to reactivate certain controls to let them out of things. It doesn't serve the purpose of the episode, so he doesn't. He maybe just forgot he had the Force. I'm not sure. The stress of the moment, perhaps. I don't know. Because that's the big hole you could poke. But regardless, we get into a great thing. They're trying to get the controller's trying to dump them out the airlock. They stop that. Then they send AP5 onto the hull of the ship to manually release them and get control of the ship back. A great combat sequence between AP5 and Chopper in space. AP5 gets knocked off of the Ghost and hurls through the void of space. Meanwhile, as he comes back into the ship, that's when Zeb gets him. That's when Zeb zaps him and knocks him out, renders him uncontrollable. They take the data spike that Chopper had planted into the Ghost to get all the information that was being sent back to the controller and his ship. And then Hera decides that she's angry. And it is fun to see Hera angry, not going to lie, because she means business. And she sets Chopper up again and kind of does like a feedback loop kind of situation. And sends so much power through Chopper into the controller system that it causes a massive explosion and kills all aboard. So any data they did get is lost. And this actually helps to restart Chopper. So all is done. All is save the day. Hey, AP5, you did a great job. Wait a second. Where's AP5? hurling through the void. And this is that other weird moment of the episode. I really like this moment. But it's just so unusual. It was so odd, but I loved it. And it's AP5 hurtling through space, talking to himself about how he should be scared, but he feels at calm, at peace. He's okay with this fate. He's okay with drifting through the void and just being this thing in space. And these little space creatures come up to him, and he begins to sort of like start singing about his fate and how it's all okay. And then he sees the light, and he doesn't want the light to come any closer because he knows it's the ghost. And they scoop him up. The little space creatures fly away, and they scoop him up into the ghost. And we sort of restore the status quo before the end of the episode. And Hera says, "Don't mess with my droid." Boom. That's the episode. But our friends now have the orbital clearance codes, so they can stage their big attack on Lothal. We are setting the stage up for the big climax of Season 3. And again, I think this is a solidly entertaining episode. I give it 7. I'm generous for my droid love. 7.5 buckets. It's probably 7, honestly. But I give it a little bump for my droid love, all right? And AP5 singing. And singing this weird thing about being so calm and resigned about his fate of floating through the void of nothingness forever and ever and ever. I loved it. I was very entertained. I might be alone on this one. You guys let me know what you think. Hit me up on those socials at Mando_Vision, X and Insta, Mandovision at Blue Sky. And of course you can email me too. Send me a scathing diatribe about why my droid love is misplaced. And you can do that at mandovisiontom@gmail.com. 7.5 buckets. Like I said, I'm being generous and I don't even care. All right? Bucketheads, thank you for supporting the show. This is the Mandovision podcast, and I am your host, Nargai Tom. We've been doing this for 341 episodes. That's freaking bananas. And we're rocketing towards the end of 2025. Can you guys believe that? And this show's going to keep powering all through 2026. I already got a bit of a schedule planned out for the first 6 months of the show. And we're looking pretty solid. We're looking really good. Because I bet you're thinking, like, what's he going to do after he finishes Rebels? Don't worry about it. We got things. Star Wars is the gift that keeps on giving. Like the Jelly of the Month Club, friends. Think about that for a gift this year, all right? Again, Bucketheads, you are the best out there. Thanks for all the support. I am truly fortunate to have as many wonderful listeners as I do. Thank you guys so much. You guys mean the world to me. Get out there, go be great Star Wars fans, kind, supportive, respectful, understanding, and always amazing. If possible or so inclined, you know what to do. Give us those sweet 5-star reviews. They help the small shows like us stand out. I appreciate you guys doing that. And of course, make sure you're liking, subscribing, following, and sharing the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. All right, Bucketheads, we'll be back next week for another exciting installment of the Mandovision podcast. But until then, remember, this podcast can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Just did the castle run in 12 parsecs. Not if you round down, buddy. Yeah.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47.
It's a trap!